Welcome to episode 824 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and wait a second. This is a full collaboration, so I'm not even doing a full intro. Dale Lorene, why don't you introduce us to both of our audience here?
I'm missing music, Dan. You know,
I'm
missing fireworks. I'm missing loud noises.
What are you looking for? You're looking for Rock Track 2, uncopyrighted Rock Track 2?
I'm a hip hop man. Give me something. Give me something that goodness. There you go. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today, Dan, quite frankly. It's been a long time that we haven't been doing this collaboration, so it's good to be back with you folks from the Barcelona pod. Welcome as well to D-Spot, of course. D-Spot for all things the World Cup, I'm calling it at the moment, Dan, because obviously the majority of the coverage is on the World Cup. We are going to get into that. I want to talk to you about Spain's performance, naturally, of course, as well as my Dutch side. I'd be remiss not to get your feedback on some of the things that Koeman has been doing with my Oranje that I have a lot of doubts about as well. Last night we saw England, what some are saying is the best performance so far in the World Cup. That could be, Germany might have something to say against that, or Messi himself. But and of course, the signings continue. Dan, I don't know if you've been seeing the latest one hitting the Spanish newspapers. And by signings, I mainly mean Real Madrid signings. Yeah. Because after announcing Bernardo Silva, they're now also, who else have they been making official? A string of players. It looks like they are now also poaching, that is the hottest talent within the Moroccan team. But more on that in a little bit. Good to be back, Dan. It's early morning for you. And as we do, whenever we have these collaborations, then there's always, I feel, a good chunk of it that goes away to just ice breaking between you and me. That's off air, but that I feel also carries some weight and will be interesting for our listeners to hear us discuss. We talked about frisbeeing, professional frisbeeing. I wanted to. Not ultimate frisbee. I have a question to you about frisbee golf. Is that the official word for it? Because initially I thought you were talking to me about that sport that has become very professional. ESPN does great coverage on it. What is it called?
That's disc golf.
Disc golf. Okay, now I know the name officially. Do you do that?
No, I do not. I'm actually pretty not good at that at all. My brother plays it better than I do. Yeah,
you have to be very skilled. I saw some of those highlight tapes and the reels. Amazing.
Let me put it this way. Playing Ultimate, though, I'm better than most people. Like, I'm better than 9.5 out of 10 people who would just pick it up and just get into it. Just because I know how to throw a disc, I know how to throw it this far.
So you need to have some technique in throwing the disc, throwing the frisbee.
Correct.
Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, even your wind up, the way your release points on your arm and things like that. So. Yeah, I mean, listen, to plug this quickly, I have been talking about anything on the Watchalong streams because I'm doing more streams with these World Cup stuff, and it's a smaller audience, so I'm willing to jump into everything. But my Watchalongs have been on BigUp.
Yep.
And again, I want to plug that stuff. I have the USA versus Australia tomorrow, and then Spain versus Saudi Arabia on Sunday, so that's what's coming up. We did Spain against Cape Verde the other day, France against Senegal.
What's your schedule? How many live streams are you doing there on Big Up?
I'm basically doing all the Spain games, all the USA games.
Okay.
People asked for the Argentina game, but it was a little too late at night. And I knew the audience was going to be like 2 people. But I will likely be doing Argentina in the knockouts. I'll probably still do
after that hat trick. You're going to get your numbers. You don't want to miss another Messi show.
Yeah, maybe. But what you and I have noticed, and you and I both love to do this. I think people do care about this, but we'll bring the hood up. Like, our numbers are just down across the board. People are obviously looking for World Cup coverage exclusively. So I think it's fair for us to start with the Barcelona news, right? I think that's the good place to start. And it is interesting because the England team in itself, will begin there, is that Venn diagram of Barcelona and the World Cup. And the question that we're going to jump right into, and I don't think I say this question very tongue-in-cheek, knowing that one match is not decided, but the fun thing about the World Cup is you get discourse from all different directions. So a lot of people, Barcelona and not, and I think you also hear the big conversation always happens when other people are trying to troll Barcelona. So the question I asked is Rashford a better player than Anthony Gordon? Because both Barcelona fans and non-Barcelona fans, either the ones trolling or the ones, we'll say, overreacting to a 72-minute appearance from Anthony Gordon and a bench appearance from Rashford. Is Rashford a better player than Anthony Gordon? And the question might actually be and it's a much more boring question, but with amortization, is Anthony Gordon also being 3 years younger? Is he cheaper for the same production for Barcelona as Rashford? And that's, again, much more boring question than the actual one is Rashford a better player than
administrative
Anthony Gordon?
Question, exactly, from a business end. Look, I think the first, let's start with the question A. I don't think that Hansi Flick is necessarily looking for the better talent, let's say. I think Marcus Rashford is probably the more talented football player head to head. I don't think that is what Flick is looking in Anthony Gordon, in being a talented football player. That, again, statistically, from a numbers perspective, offensively speaking, Marcus Rashford put up very good numbers, very solid numbers, convincing numbers. But what he's looking from Gordon specifically is everything that you and I have been we've talked about, we've regurgitated it several times, is the defensive sacrifice as well. And that is something that Rashford just simply doesn't have in his repertoire. He's unable to give Hansi Flick what he needs from him from that point, more so than his numbers offensively. And I continue to think that Anthony Gordon will, fatten up his stats in those areas as well, goals and assists, more so than a Newcastle, because Barca's playing style favors him more. But what I also think is that Anthony Gordon, I don't know. I haven't seen him enough. The sample size for Marcus Rashford for me is greater than that of Anthony Gordon. So I could see why people would argue that Anthony Gordon is a more talented football player, because I do rate him as a football talent, right? As a football player. But what I have bought into is this idea that Anthony Gordon will probably deliver similar numbers, because he will increase his goal scoring and assists, but he will also provide that defensive input that is so desperately needed in order for Hansi Flick's system to succeed.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talk about profile, right? And what is Tuchel asking for on that left wing as opposed to what Hansi Flick asked for? And they're so radically different players, right? Because Rashford, well, he isn't a 1v1 player. He is somebody that likes ball to feet, whereas Anthony Gordon is the antithesis of that, because Anthony Gordon, as I had said when he first signed and talked to John from the Newcastle podcast, that he is very much a player that is a potential Raphinha 2.0 in terms of function for Barcelona. So you're right. It is going from club to country. It's really hard to make that comparison. Again, you're also doing it on, the sample size where England was not using that left side. But again, like Anthony Gordon wasn't expected to do that. He was expected to run around a lot. Now, it is a bit disappointing, like 9 passes and 17 total touches against Croatia. Yeah, not great. But also,
not great.
Remember, when you watch the Spain against Cape Verde, that Oyarzabal had fewer touches than any other forward. Actually, he had 0. Sorry, he had 0 touches later on in a game than any other player since 1966, which is absolutely incredible, because again, there's other countries that have played at the World Cup that have absolutely just not even gotten to touch the ball at all. The numbers for you for both these guys last season was that Rashford at 28 years old, 49 appearances, 14 goals, 14 assists, and a goal every 188 minutes in 2,600 plus total minutes. Gordon, 25 years old, 46 appearances, so 3 less, 17 goals, 3 more, 5 assists, which is 9 assists less, and a goal every 169 minutes. So that's, my math is so good, 19 minutes less per on average per 90 in more than 2,800 total minutes. But again, Anthony Gordon, to me, and this is kind of throwing out the Raphinha to Saudi Arabia links again. I don't think Saudi Arabia, as much as they have a huge offer for Raphinha, the only thing that makes this interesting is that people are saying if Barcelona wants spending power, you do have, like, Raphinha has to be the, we'll say, big exit that has kind of been rumored that has to happen. And so that would be the only reason why that would have to happen. But to me, Raphinha, I know Barcelona don't sell their players in enough time. They hold on too late. Barcelona does that. They don't cut bait when they have to. But Raphinha has another year at Barcelona to give a high level. He was injured last year. I just think that I it's really tough because I understand Rashford's still potentially possible to return, but Man United are not open to another loan as Barcelona did not activate Rashford's buy option before the June 15 deadline. So that has come, that has passed. And again, I do
that
think
makes sense. That's why they've increased the price to 45 from 30.
exactly. So I
Right.
do think that Raphinha is sticking around for one more season. I don't think it's too soon for him. I also think there's still going to be a financial market for him next season as well. I think next season will be
definitely.
right.
So the thing that was reported this morning, Dan, that might be interesting, Xavi Campos from Tot Costa, he said that because yesterday it already broke that news that after the World Cup, Raphinha would engage in conversation with the Saudi club. It turns out, I think it's Al Hilal, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
Al Hilal, yep.
Yeah. And then that was dismissed, as in Raphinha wants to stay, case closed. Now this morning it opened up again because this periodista, this journalist, Xavi Campos, is reporting that Raphinha has a similar clause that Inigo Martinez had in his contract that stipulates basically if Saudi comes knocking, our ears need to perk up. Like we're allowed to listen, we're allowed to entertain a bid. And what they're offering right now is a salary that is quadruple that Raphinha's earning at the moment at Barca, and the offers of 80 million for Barca. So, there is, if that offer is on the table, if you're Barca, if you're Raphinha, it's definitely something to look at and evaluate the pros and cons of letting your captain go, o capitão. I mean, for me, that is priceless. Raphinha is priceless. This Barca, I cannot see it. If we're already bitching about Inigo Martinez not being present this season, imagine Raphinha departing. I mean, for me, that would be, just the death trigger, especially seeing how Real Madrid are also reforzando, strengthening their squad. Like losing our El Capital right now would be disastrous.
Yeah, also on the left wing, John Virgili's agent met with Deco, and it does look like Barcelona will activate their 7.2 million buyback option and then send him on loan to Real Betis. He had 2 goals, 4 assists last season with Mallorca in 31 appearances. Watched him. I've also heard from other people in the know that it does still feel like finishing product-wise, he's a year away. He is still very much, again, is early. I think he's 22, and he'll be 23. So it's still kind of early days for him. But with Real Betis likely selling on Abde, Barcelona will make more on the Abde from Betis sale.
Sorry.
He might be 21 maybe now. Right, yeah, he was. You're right. He's young. You're right. Yeah. He's going to be 21. So, yeah, Virgili's even younger than that. And so Barcelona will make more on the sale of Abde from Betis than they will have to worry about that 7.2 mil buyback. So this is very much a financial deal for Barcelona, but also, again, one for the future as well. If he does pop off, then great. Maybe the Raphinha stuff, it is like
you're protecting a future asset, possible future asset for a cheap price. So that makes sense. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this possible departure of Raphinha? Could you see that happen, and what would be the consequences?
Well, yeah, I think from a club perspective, like financial club perspective, it is a decent move. Now I've heard that there is still money necessary for Leeds United and all that stuff, but I always throw that away. That when it comes to amortization, that is part of the deal, the yearly transfers, whatever like that. So he also doesn't really truly. He is one of the larger earners at Barcelona, but his exodus it frees up some salary space, sure, for this season, and yes, it puts 80 mil in your pocket again. With this being the last year of the amortization of that deal. So you basically would pocket almost that entire transfer fee. So from a financial perspective, sure, great. From a footballing perspective, though, I think it would be devastating to the point that they would lose like a third of that transfer fee by potentially not winning matches that they would have to. I do think Raphinha is still that important to the success of this Barcelona side. And then, I'm going to transition here to talk about Julian Alvarez, because I think when it's not even about Real Madrid's reinforcements, but it does say that with Real Madrid reinforcing, with Atleti still being strong, there's this world where it feels like, and this is a listener question that was interesting. We got from Taco Zillion on my Discord. Again, please just join Discord for free down in the show notes of the description, my page at least. He said, given the whole Alvarez mess, which we'll talk about the details there, and signing a striker saga that's going on, and giving the possibility that we end the transfer window without signing an Alvarez or a big number 9, I throw Harry Kane in there as well, or have a very lackluster window specifically for that forward position, what would be the expectation for the season ahead? Now, we're going to put a pin in that question, but are we expecting to perform better regardless, given the learning experience of the last few seasons, or degrade in quality? My worry is that if Barcelona do, if it is just a swap of Anthony Gordon for Rashford, and also losing Lewandowski. So it's really Anthony Gordon replacing Rashford and Lewandowski, and then you try to reboot what you're doing, that forward line. As high as I am on the La Masia talents, which I'm absurdly high on, like I think Hamza Abdelkarim getting named to Egypt is awesome, and Oscar Gustavo if he's healthy and all those different things. But coming into this next season without a other true professional up top would be, I wouldn't say catastrophic, but Real Madrid have showed us that if you're not the top team in Spain, you can go trophyless for 2 straight seasons. And I think, it's to say trophyless for Barcelona, it's a failure in the same way it's a failure for Real Madrid. But somebody's got to not win the trophies. Mm-hmm. And my feeling about the talent, and we'll again talk about the Real Madrid signings later, but the feeling would be if they don't get somebody up there, that I just don't think they have the horses. And so if you sell Raphinha, and I guess the idea would be if you sell Raphinha, you're definitely bringing in Alvarez. If you sell Raphinha, you're definitely bringing in at least somebody
for any price. Right.
But I also don't think that anybody is going to be able to replace his, we'll say, goal and assist contributions, his GA contributions, if he is a player that is healthy. The only reason I would also say that Barcelona sell him now is if they know more about his long-term health than we do. Again, he's just 30 this year, but if the signs are already on the wall that he is in worse shape than we think he is, and Barcelona knows something, then now would be the moment too. You don't want to get caught with a player who's, we'll say, damaged goods at that point. And I say that very harshly, but you understand my point.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about. It's quite frankly, I mean, if the transfer market started out with a bang and really got us all kind of, giddy and excited, as we're particularly seeing, obviously, our friendly neighbors from the nation's capital signing players in a rush and making big moves. They have to. They're fighting from out of their corner, severely beaten. Their reputation is being mopped over the floor. They have a lot to a lot of work to do. Huh?
Let's just say the full sentence. You have Kylian Mbappe, and you've gone trophyless in 2 seasons. Like that is an abject failure.
That in and of itself. Correct. And then add on to that all of the hysteria, the drama, the soap opera that we've been witnessing of players beating each other into the hospital, etc. The changing of 4 coaches, the presidential elections, the senile president, going full Joe Biden mode, etc. And Trump, by the way. It's the interesting mix, the cocktail that Florentino's got going there. But besides all of that, they are going to come out guns blazing. I'm expecting a carbon copy of a season that we experienced, 16 some years ago, when Mourinho was brought in under the same pretext with the same mission to beat Barca by any means in any way necessary, shape or form, for that matter, on and off the pitch. And I believe that to intensify, especially now with the whole Negreira cocktail. They've finally submitted their Bible, their 500-page dossier with quote-unquote evidence that we can touch upon a little bit later. But all of this to say is that it's now the ball's back in Barca's court to make the right moves so that next season will not be, I guess, a disaster. It could be a disaster. Like we saw how this Barca lost against Atletico twice, 4 big cups. And yes, we managed to win La Liga again, reconquer that league trophy in dominant fashion. But that was all in the past now. We have to look forward. And if it, I'll tell you what, you mentioned if Raphinha does go, then we'll get Julian Alvarez for sure. That for me doesn't necessarily mean that we are a better team.
No, I agree.
You know, like
No, 100%.
that wouldn't make me feel better. And I know for one that we would probably overpay. We would do Atletico a massive solid by paying that whatever 150, 140 asking price, because they know that money is in from Raphinha, and it would kind of set up the season quite worrisome. Quite frankly, yeah, I wouldn't feel very comfortable in my boots if that were the Barca's transfer window and we have to then face the season without a Raphinha. Even a banged up Raphinha, I think would be
Yeah.
still from a sporting perspective, morally for what he means, his weight within the team, he is absolutely necessary, especially because what do we want next season, Dan? La Liga, sure. Copa del Rey, sure. But we want that Champions League. And in order to win that trophy, you need to have the collective, the core that has gone through that have crawled through the mud and everything, that have had the growing pains to conquer that trophy. And I think Rafinha has to be a fundamental part of that.
Yeah, it is interesting too that Real Madrid too, it should be noted, are not done yet, because if
they're
they
not
had
done
the funds,
yet. That's exactly.
yeah, if they had the funds,
Enzo's next.
Enzo Fernandez, you're saying, from
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
If Real Madrid had a 150 million euro bid for Alvarez turned down by Atletico Madrid, and that
which I don't believe. I don't really.
You don't believe that?
Listen, I believe that it was done, but I believe that they shook hands
and said we're going to do this.
Yeah. This was a PR stunt to just basically rub it in Barca's face and to say, "Hey, we have money," and clearly they have money because they're going crazy.
Yeah, and Barcelona did have a 100 million euro bid rejected. Yeah. And the Atletico Madrid president, Enrique Cerezo, he came back and said the asking price is the buyout clause, which is 500 million euros. That we know that Barcelona is now reportedly, and this is what's true, they're lining up 135 million euro offer after the World Cup. We know that is confirmed. And
I didn't know that. 135 for after the
135
World Cup.
Is the offer coming after the World Cup. Yeah, that's been reported by multiple outlets. So I think there's some fire to that smoke for sure. And we'll see if Atleti are much more willing to engage in the fact that Julian Alvarez would also have to do his part and force his way out, which seems like, of the fact that his agent has not denied anything in any way, it sounds like that might be something that's a part of that. The other option that's been really linked to Barcelona, which I'm very skeptical about, is Eli Junior Krupe, the 19-year-old for Bournemouth, who turns 20 in 5 days. So he's a 20-year-old next season. That is the other name, again, being heavily linked, heavily floated. He had 13 goals for Bournemouth last year in 33 matches. And Bournemouth have said it's 100 million to get him, and he's valued on Transfermarkt at 70 mil. And I mean, that's a lot for, and I know he's going to be 20, but people were saying that while Vitor Roque did make the jump from Brazil, and Bournemouth, obviously, if you're scoring 13 goals in the Prem, it's just like a different level. It's a different level of know-how. But I mean, that guy at that number, he's got to be it, right? Like, he's got to hit the ground running. He's got to be it. He basically has to be the good news is, even for 100 mil, he wouldn't have to be the out-and-out starter. It would be a cocktail, and maybe a deadly cocktail of Ferran Torres and Krupe, but we have to see about that. And the question then that brought up to me as I'm watching this World Cup here, and I've got another video in the works about this that I'm really trying to ask a lot of these abstract questions, inspired by a video the Purist did a while ago. But the question I'm asking here, a little teaser for it, is what is Barcelona's level for a striker? And striker in particular, and I do this in the video all around the field, but we watched the World Cup, and of course you're not responding to one game or whatever, but you look at a guy like Folarin Balogun, and this isn't just me with a USA bias, right? But the Balogun of Monaco scores a brace against Paraguay. Last season for Monaco, he had 18 goals, 3 assists in 40 matches, was their player of the season. We watched Luis Suarez of Sporting CP, used to be in the Liga, 28 goals and 5 assists in 32 matches for Sporting CP last season in their league. So those are huge numbers from him, the Colombian. Though Cucho Hernandez, by the way, watching him with Cucho Hernandez, rather, I should say, watching him with Real Betis, and then I used to watch for the Columbus Crew in MLS too. He was not only better for Colombia off the bench yesterday, but I think Cucho Hernandez, again, playing at a little bit of a higher level, similar output, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And not to give away my thesis from this video, but I'd say the equation is level plus consistency is equal to the right signing, right? So it's like I'm trying to do this with both with everybody, and I think what makes Messi so special, to give some of this away too, is like he has been the most consistently awesome player. That's what makes him the greatest of all time. Correct. He just consistently, he puts in a a banger performance. And again, it doesn't have to be a world-class performance. Messi gives you something every single match. And I think that is what makes Lamine Yamal the star that he is, that again, I think so easily I say I don't care about his age, because Lamine Yamal, his floor from match to match, like he puts in 2 stinkers every season. That's what he does. And if you do that, you're one of the best in the world. That's why he's rated the way he is. So I think when it comes to the forward position, it's like Balogun, Luis Suarez from Colombia, of course, Cucho Hernandez, whoever it may be, even again, Junior Krupi. You say, okay, consistently, what is your performance? Are you giving something every single performance? I think for Raphinha, consistently, Raphinha has 4 stinkers a season, and I sign up for that every day of the week. For Anthony Gordon, that's the real worry. Is that dude going to give you something 75% of the time? Is Ferran Torres, why people argue about Ferran Torres, does Ferran Torres give you something? I mean, I think he gives something good 65% of the time. And that's just barely not enough for a Barcelona striker. That's just not enough. Your striker Barcelona needs to give you something of consistency. I'd say 80 to 85% of matches, even if they don't score a goal. They've got to give you something where they make a difference. And again, my worry about a Balogun is is that a guy that's going to give you 60% of, 60 performances, or sorry, 60 performances, 60% of good performances? I think the level plus consistency is really what makes that striker market just so difficult to figure out.
What is amazing is because who does he play for?
Who's this, Balogun?
Yeah.
Monaco,
right. So to fish out a player like Balogun, but also like Raphinha or even an Anthony Gordon from places. Anthony Gordon is at Newcastle, their Champions League team. Leeds were fighting for survival. They were in the relegation zone. Raphinha was putting up similar numbers to what Anthony Gordon was putting up now at Newcastle. Underwhelming, or well below the expectations, and well below par to what the consistency and the output that you're mentioning now. To buy a player like that and form him into an all-around goal-scoring machine, but also a captain and leader of that team, like we have done with Raphinha, is one of the best success stories, I think, of a signing era in Barca's history. You know what I mean? The fall off has been because of injury. It's been because of physique, not because of willpower, of wanting his drive and professionalism and consistency. Like you said, it's just because the body gave up. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's why the striker stuff is just so difficult, because when it comes to center backs, you continue to work through the profile, but and you have to pay for goals. And
sorry, one more thing, and I'll end there. What I wanted to add, now that you mentioned that, is you're paying for goals, but you're paying for goals at Barca, which is also, it comes with that added pressure. Some people buckle under that pressure, and they cannot reach that same level that they had at a smaller team, where they maybe went a little bit more flying under the radar. They didn't have such, all that pressure on their shoulders. So there's a lot of things you got to factor in. And who would you do you think that Julian Alvarez would be able to peak as a player, just fully be a superstar forward that we need for that kind of money, for 135 million? Or will we see a Coutinho type scenario?
I mean, that's the tough thing, right? For you and I covering Barcelona, I have to commit to that idea and figure out a way to work my way into it, because you're right. I went insane back in the Coutinho days, right? Knowing it was the wrong transfer. I went crazy about the Griezmann stuff, knowing it was the wrong transfer. I think when it comes to Julian Alvarez, I understand that he's a much better fit as a profile for Hansi Flick. He also, again, is playing at a top side who went to the semifinals of the Champions League. Yes, he had a goal-scoring drought, but, I have to be on board. And I think to your point, there are definitely reservations because, like, if you're asking me, even though he's a lot younger, do I take Julian Alvarez for 130 mil or do I take Harry Kane for 3 years for 70 mil?
Right.
I'm taking Harry Kane 8 out of 10
Kane.
times. Like
Yeah, for
Harry
sure.
Kane is the guy. That's
Yeah.
the signing. That's the
Yeah.
signing.
Yeah.
He's not leaving Bayern, but like that would be the guy. For and I'm not just saying that because he put 2 in for England yesterday. That's not what I'm saying. But like Harry Kane is just
Oh, he's
so
been
much,
quality.
but everything that Barcelona needs. And so
Mhm.
if he had a release clause that was 70 mil because of his age, and again he can give the same 2 to 3 seasons that Lewandowski did, 100% I sign up for that because of what the market is. And if you're FC Barcelona, and it's the same thing with Real Madrid. Real Madrid are flush with cash right now because they took their lumps with their stadium, and now you see what happened. That revenue's coming in, it's pouring in, and Real Madrid have got disposable income to spend
Yeah.
on transfers because the revenue is up. And Barcelona, they are going to still be for next year or two in a position where they're paying off the biggest loans and the biggest interest to Goldman Sachs on the SPY Barca project. So again, I'm saying Harry Kane for 65, 70 mil. If you can get us 3 years down the road when that revenue really starts to pour in from the stadium, that's exactly how we're going to do this. There are positions at Barcelona you go short term for, and there is positions at Barcelona that you can go long term for. And when it comes to striker position, we need goals and we need them now. And so, yeah, I would go Harry Kane every time. And if it is Julian Alvarez for 130 mil, that in theory is setting Barcelona up for the next 5 seasons at the striker position, which again is, I mean, you'd argue in world football, right? It is the hardest one. Like, there's a reason why of the top 100 players of all time, what we'd say like 74 of them are forwards. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
The best players in football at the end of the day are expected to score some goals.
Yeah.
That's the
Come for
nature
the
of the
territory, literally. Yeah.
So I'm gonna. This is going to be one of the biggest about faces pivots, Diego, that I could possibly do to you. But we're going to go from forwards to a young goalkeeper in Diego Kochen. Just a real quick thing here. Diego Kochen looks like he is officially off the Danish side, Lyngby on loan. He is
You had
20.
to shoe in some American news in here, didn't you, Dan?
I mean, this is Barcelona news. He's 20, and young keepers need to play. So,
no, yes, Diego Kochen was in line for sure to be the Barca goalkeeper, and he's a great goalkeeper. So sorry, but he's on loan.
The only question is there are rumors here that the coaching deal was done to get the USA 18-year-old right-footed center back Neil Pierre, but I'm confused by this one a little bit because Pierre's on loan at Lyngby from the Philadelphia Union in MLS. He was an MLS Next Pro Defender of the Year. He's also 6'5", but I don't understand how you sending a player on loan to this Danish side. I believe they just got promoted, so they'll be in the first division. This year they were in the second division of the. I mean, sending Kochen to the second division of Danish football. I believe again they got promoted. It wouldn't make sense if they weren't. But anyway, for them to then facilitate. So is Lyngby then buying Pierre from the Union, and then Barcelona then buying him from Lyngby? I'm not sure how that's going to work. But anyway, he's 6'5", and then there's another center back, an Australian, Lucas Harrington, who would be the very first Australian at FC Barcelona. I don't need to look that up. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm like 98% sure about that. He's also an 18-year-old at the Colorado Rapids here in the U.S. He's also being heavily linked to the club for Barca Athletic. He's also 1.93 meters or 6'4", also right-footed. And what I'm starting to notice, I also say like Onstein, who also joined the Dutch center back, Barcelona are looking and profiling and bringing in tall, doesn't matter if they're left-footed or right-footed, tall center backs. That is what they're trying to do. And it does seem like Barcelona, and we know this to be the case, at the youth level, they're very content with the ball-playing center backs that they have. Again, and Kubarsi being the guy that they know is going to be a center back for Barcelona for at least the next 10 more years.
Yeah.
They're looking for a partner. Left-footed, right-footed, doesn't matter. They're looking for a tall, athletic, rangy center back. I think that's the only news really to drop here. That seems to be what Barcelona is looking for right now as a partner for Kubarsi for the future.
Well, I feel like they've been doing that though. I feel like when I was at Barca TV, we're covering a lot of players that were coming in for the youth ranks were in that position. Well, Araujo was kind of the biggest one that pops into mind now, or during my time there, that broke into the first team and had a very good prospect future. But just I want to, and it makes sense. It makes sense why they would look for a partner for Cubarsi and Mira. So if he can get some experience in the Barca academy, then he'll be more prepared once he does, if and when he does break into the first team. But going back to the goalkeeper, Diego Kochen, because I had to look it up real quick. You would have said that he was third in line, no? Behind, obviously,
behind
Juan Garcia. Tech is still there. Is he going to stick around for another season? No, he's gone now, right? That was his farewell parade.
It felt like it.
It wasn't announced. It has been. No, I double checking. I didn't miss any news here.
Yeah. So here's what I think, and I think this has been reported. Ter Stegen's wages are too high, and Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is the backup goalkeeper of Barcelona next year.
Right.
I think
but he's not going to be,
because his wages are so high. They want to put him out on loan.
Yeah.
But he's not fit. I don't know if he's going to get
Nobody
that
wants
loan.
to take him. I think they're gonna I could see a breach of break the contract there scenario. Let him go for free. There's no way Marc-Andre Ter Stegen will come back as a backup goalkeeper, especially if you have also Iñaki Peña coming back. You have Astralaga, you have Jakobishvili, all these players from the youth ranks that have been in the making for what seems like ever at this point. And you know that because you cover that more than me.
I the first half of the season, I thought it would be Jakobishvili, the way he was kind of popping off in Andorra, but it seemed like everything cooled. And to that point about rumors, as we said, I've heard nothing. I mean, and also I will say this too: the Anthony Gordon stuff, those rumors percolated for like 48 hours, and then that deal was done. So it's like if Barcelona are going to go out and get a backup goalkeeper, it's not like we're going to hear about it a month in advance, right? They're not like going to be courting a player. They're just going to spend 15 mil on somebody, and here they are. This is a backup goalkeeper of Barcelona, and we're not going to have to overthink it. But I do think that Ter Stegen not at the World Cup, they can try to get some of that business done, and I think we're going to hear a lot of that movement in like the second week of July as we start to kick off preseason. Yeah. And I also do think that Iñaki Peña returning, though he will likely be resold, I have heard many, many times. And then for Jakobishvili, it's like, is he going to stay as the backup, or is he going to go back out on loan? They do like him. Both Jakobishvili and Kochen have been, I would say, the two best goalkeeping prospects that I've seen coming out of the academy.
Yeah.
Now, Arnaud Tenas was a pretty big prospect, but he was a little bit undersized.
Yeah, now, of course,
Yeah, so I would say Jakobishvili and Kochen are the two biggest prospects that I've seen in the last, I'd say 15 years as goalkeepers coming in the academy, and it just so happens to be them being the same age, which is
so for me, it was going to be, I thought next season will be Joan Garcia and Diego Kochen.
Yeah,
as second. So
I think
it just means that there's more work to do for Deco and Flick. You're losing your second goalkeeper. What are you going to do in that position? There's a lot of work to do, man. There's a lot of work to do. And I actually wanted to get your take on the Cucurella signing. It's a little bit of old news now.
But let me just interrupt real quick because I want to bore. I have to bore you with one other thing. Jorge Salinas of Racing Santander. He's a young left back. There were heavy links to him pretty consistently about Barcelona buying him and then sending him back to newly promoted Santander this season. Again, he's a really young left back, probably the best young left back prospect in the Segunda Division last year.
Pablo Torre 2.0 in the making, or what?
It feels like it a little bit. And then Giuliano Belletti renewed his contract for another season with Barca Athletic until 2027, which I like it. Even though they didn't get promoted, consistency at that level with young players is always important. Okay, sorry. Please pivot to the copycat signings, as we call this segment.
Well, not just copycat. Yeah, obviously copycat. But do you think that this was the summer where we should have brought Cucurella back and let Balde go, Cancelo go, or what would you have done? Is it an opportunity missed, or are you like good riddance? I don't really care. Good luck to the man, whatever.
Yeah. So I would never be one of the people who jump ship on Balde. I still think Balde is young, and I think we watched Cancelo in that second half of last season, and even watching him for Portugal, I thought he was Portugal's best player? Like, it felt like it at times. Like, he was their most impactful player. I do think that Balde and Cancelo, it feels like, you don't have a Nuno Mendes, but you drive yourself crazy again at the left back spots talking about, the perfect replacement there. So, like, Cucurella is one of the top left backs in world football, but I do think that Balde had, I hope that last season was almost a worst case scenario for him. I understand the finishing product. I understand that continues to be a problem, but structurally for him with Hansi Flick, I want to continue to give him space here. He'll be 24 next year, and again, that's still young for a defender. So at 55 mil fixed plus 5 million bonuses for Cucurella, is it a good signing for Real Madrid? Yeah, maybe. But I also said Alvaro Carreras was like an awesome signing for them. I also thought Ferland Mendy was an awesome signing for them. Like for Real Madrid, like Cucurella.
And then they have Fran Garcia, their home.
Yeah, and Fran Garcia too. I mean, but we can tell he's a backup, right? Like that's
yeah.
So I think Barcelona would do well financially to a rotation of Balde and Cancelo should be good enough, I think, for Barcelona. So, like, was this year to bring Cucurella back? I mean, maybe, but I don't think Barcelona had the disposable income to make that move. My better question for you, actually, it's not is Cucurella a traitor, because I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about that? I don't think no. I think the answer is no. I think it's like he played for youth academy, and not only that, but when you go back to it, I mean, very much like Grimaldo. I would think if Grimaldo had played for Real Madrid, it wouldn't be a traitor situation either. Like they were on the precipice of the first team, and with Grimaldo, Luis Enrique made the choice. It wasn't him, and so he played his football elsewhere, and he's played a whole professional career elsewhere. So
it doesn't matter as long as it's not Madrid. That's the point.
I guess so. I mean, is he a? I said I don't. Unless you're going
it's like
directly.
For me, it's just. I think my conclusion was he was never probably that culé, because I couldn't see myself do that. Now I've never had a contract in front of me for however many millions that he's going to be making.
60 mil, yeah,
right. So
wait a second, you don't have 60 mil sponsors?
Not
Why
yet.
are we collaborating, Diego?
Close.
What's happening?
But I'm almost there. I'm right there.
Yeah, same.
But so it's easy for us to talk, of course, as fans and say he was never that culé or he's a traitor. I get that he's a professional, and as a professional, you have to do your job. And if he was tired of London and had been eyeing a move back to his native country of Spain to be closer, to his family here, I think his wife might be from Madrid. I'm not 100% sure about that, but yeah, he's Catalan. Obviously, he was born and raised here. He went to the Masia, so you automatically think the last thing you do is accept a move to Real Madrid, especially if there's rumors of you potentially moving back to your boyhood club. That being said, that was never formal. It was never formalized, or probably never even spoken about to him directly. So he had the opportunity. It came knocking, and now he's bigging up Madrid. He's like, it's a club with a lot of mystique and the remontada. So obviously he's pleasing that fan base.
Remember, too, he also spent more time as a professional in the capital with Edafe than he did at Barcelona.
Right.
As a professional. He did preseason with Barcelona, but he went to Edafe, and that's where he really got. It was a revolving door. I mean, not a revolving door. It was a sliding door moment with him too at Edafe. Like you didn't know what his level was going to be. He could have not rose to the occasion at Edafe.
It was really Eibar, no? That's where I think.
He was at Eibar and Edafe, right? It was like back-to-back years.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you're making me down.
Now I'm doubting myself. Anyway, Eibar always their color scheme trips me up, and I'm like, there's how many blue teams are there in Spain? Anyway, the question I have for you next is of the signings, and we're going to put Denzel Dumfries and Ibrahima Konate in here.
He was.
They're going to happen.
He was. Yes.
So Cucurella, Bernardo Silva, Dumfries, Konate. I want you to rank those 4 signings for Real Madrid on how much you think those 4 signings are going to actually help Real Madrid. Like which of those, rank them in order of which one of those signings scares you to actually be a reinforcement for Real Madrid that can be really dangerous.
Look, I think directly against Barca, they could. We saw what Cucurella was capable of doing against Lamine Yamal when it was Chelsea, Barca in the Champions League. Much like what we saw Carreras was able to do when it was Benfica, Barca in those days as well, which they're clear signings. These are Lamine Yamal stopping signings. What did Dumfries do against Barca with Inter? That is what Mourinho is putting together. Now, add to that a Cucurella as well. With his past, he's able to brew this, mix this cocktail brew this stew, this anti-Barca, Masia Catalan. Now he's getting cultural as well. He's getting really trying to get under the skin. And I'll be lying if I tell you I'm not slightly concerned of what awaits us next season. It's going to be a Mourinho Madrid, Konate, all these very defensive signings, destructive players, but good players as well, strong physical players. I see them as a way to put together the Barca stopping machine. And I'll be again with Enzo. You include Enzo in there, and we'll see what else.
Well, for social media, for our social media clickable content, can you just again? I want rank them: Cucurella, Bernardo Silva.
Sorry, you asked me to rank them. Yes.
Yeah. Cucurella, Silva, Dumfries, Konate. I'd say Which in order?
Me,
which ones made your heart sink? This is the heart sinking ranking. Yeah. Which ones made your heart sink when you saw those deals in order?
Dumfries, Cucu, and Konate.
Even more than Bernardo Silva. So you put Bernardo Silva last on that list.
Silva. Sorry, of course. I wonder what. I'm more curious how destructive a Bernardo Silva could be in that dressing room. I don't really know. I think he would be a better player for us. I just don't see him as a necessity. I don't think that he would have, probably gotten the minutes, let alone from a financial perspective, his needs met. Clearly not. He went for the bigger offer, but I think he would have been a happier player within Flick's system. And I don't think that Mourinho will be able to get the best out of him, despite him probably being a more regular starter for Real Madrid than Barca. But okay, so I'm sorry, you want me to rank this? I still put Dumfries in 1, Silva in 2, Cucu 3, Konate 4.
Yeah, I have some concerns on Konate if I was a Real Madrid supporter, but I'm kind of with you on that too. I think Dumfries on that right side could really help out and really enhance what they're trying to do. That said, people have said that he doesn't really play the same position in Inter Milan, and it's going to be a bit of an adaptation for him. So we'll see how that works. And then Bernardo Silva, I totally agree with you. It's like Barcelona did not need him for that, especially for the salary numbers. Like his salary numbers, Bernardo Silva more than anything else concerned me because he's a free transfer, but you look at it was a 10 mil commission fee. It was like 10 mil for something.
I read up to 20, but there was like 10 for his agent, 5 for his pops, and 5 for someone else. So
So there's all these like add-ons, and his salary is going to be huge. I think what I saw, he'd be like the fifth highest paid player for Barcelona. And you're right, to be a potential auxiliary piece is really tough. He also, again...
And he's not going to be happy being an auxiliary piece at Real Madrid. And he has a big ego. I don't know if that's going to mesh well, and I'm quite hopeful that it will be more toxic.
Yeah. I mean, even the way he...
Think about it. Dan, who's going to be the fifth midfielder? I was talking about that on my pod the other day, and I was doing the math or going over the list, and it's Arda Güler. He's not going to be happy, the young Turkishman, nor his entourage. And he will be vocal about it, I think, because he's been waiting his turn somewhat patiently, only now to be overtaken again by Silva.
I mean, his camp was vocal when he originally arrived, and he wasn't playing.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. All right, speaking of Arda Güler and almost any other player we've mentioned here, we're going to end this segment real quick. Going to try to keep this nice under an hour tight. Quick response: World Cup reactions. Now, Messi versus Cristiano Ronaldo, we know this. We just have to repeat it. It isn't even a rivalry at international level. I don't care how many goals Cristiano Ronaldo scored against Luxembourg. Doesn't matter. Messi's hat trick took him equal to Miroslav Klose's record of 16 goals in the World Cup, and he's 38 years old. What he's doing at 38 years old is insane. He's the best player in the world. I mean, I want to let you talk about Messi, but it continues to be no words. But I actually think Algeria is not even that bad, and Messi just went supernova. What I'll say here is, and this is, you can see if you're watching on YouTube, the jersey I'm wearing, this is not a pro get an Apple TV subscription here in the United States to watch Messi, but like the idea that Messi in MLS is still not Messi, I'm telling you, you're wrong. Like there are, and this is the point I made on one of the watch-alongs, there are some guys who come to MLS that are over the hill, right? When Lampard arrived, when Pirlo arrived, I'll tell you that. I'll admit that there are guys that are just like even James Rodriguez coming in from Minnesota
Griezmann.
United, right? It's like right. Who'd you say?
Griezmann now, right, with Orlando.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but who knows what Griezmann can do? But the better example for Orlando was Kaká when Kaká came to Orlando City.
Nice.
Big signing for them, sure, but like Kaká was not the best version of Kaká. I'm telling you, I watch Messi. Messi's still Messi. Like, trust me, I promise. Like, there are still dudes coming to MLS that are not over the hill. And like for David Villa was still so good for like 3 seasons with NYCFC. Some of these guys that are coming,
Henry was still good.
Who was?
Henry.
Thierry Henry had he had about 2 seasons that
he had a lot of injury though. I remember
he hated playing on turf. That's what it was. Like the turf was really tough for him. But yeah, I mean, and Messi, he doesn't play as often as he used to. He has more injuries now. But like when he steps on the field, he's still Lionel Messi at 38. I'm telling you, it's still the same thing. And so that's like it's really for me, it's like that MLS based on the World Cup, like. How do I say this? From a marketing perspective, I wish they could be bigger winners, right? For me, for like my job prospects. But as far as like the actual talent, we saw what Musa did for Croatia against England. Like some of MLS's big stars are at the World Cup and are scoring goals and are doing some stuff. And so it's just, for me, it's always an argument that MLS is not as bad as everybody makes it out to be.
As the Saudi league.
Well, the depth is because of the salary caps. MLS depth isn't there. These teams, even compared to Liga MX, MLS is just not as deep. But the stars of MLS are getting paid good money, and they're good. I think that's like I know that sounds reductive, but
I mean I don't see the MLS. I'll be honest, I always am, and quite frankly, I didn't manage to catch the game neither because it was at a ridiculous hour, the one between Argentina and Algeria. But I'll tell you what I did feel. It was very heartwarming and very emotional, I would say, seeing Messi perform at that level, and also the reaction from the coach, the player, Messi himself, the journalist. It was several moments where you saw Scolari tear up, Messi himself get emotional, the journalist asking a question, because it was almost like a statement after Mbappe had scored a brace. Haaland, I think, as well played just before, for Messi to say, look, I still command the stage, I'm still able to execute at this level, break all these records, become the oldest player in the World Cup to score a hat trick, yada yada yada. You've heard all the stats and the records, which is just jaw dropping. And to again make it personal, what was heartwarming for me was and also bittersweet, because is to see that the player that I most admire, that I saw so consistently, to talk about, to shoehorn in what we talked about before, perform at the highest level, to play that jaw dropping, unique football that we had never seen before, to see that he's still capable of doing that is, like I said, bittersweet. It's great to see, and I'm happy for him, and I want him to still execute at this level as much as possible for as long as possible. At the same time, I feel a little bit sad that we weren't able to see that longer at Barca, because that's really his place, and then he left too soon, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it again is just a shocking amount of luck that culés, and I've said this too, like I pity those Cristiano Ronaldo fans, and this isn't all of them, but the Ronaldo fans that have to dig in to not appreciate and understand what Messi
well
is.
said.
Like, I pity them. I also pity those who didn't get to see João Cancelo. I thought he was pretty good against DR Congo, as we said, despite a bunch of really struggling Portuguese teammates. The big story that you and I both kind of covered already in all our channels was about Spain. I think they're still a favorite despite the draw with Cape Verde. As I said on my stuff, I thought it was almost a worst case scenario. But I think Luis de la Fuente is also like a bit stubborn in that playing a left winger that inverts with Ferran Torres, who is not a 1v1 winger on the other side, who wanted to come inside, and then Orzabal, that is not like a traditional box presence. And to put that against a team that was desperately looking to, as Rodri and De La Fuente complained post-game, wanting to defend narrow, defend for their lives, and not attack at all. Like, I think De La Fuente, the way he set that up, the system he set that up, like, perfectly as crazy as it sounds, Spain perfectly played into Cape Verde's hands, and then the goalkeeper, of course, has like an all-time, But you set
So
yourself
happy for
up
him.
for that to happen, right? It was like a perfect storm for Cape Verde, and Spain still got a draw despite all those things. And I think with the third place teams, 8 of the top 8 making the next round, Spain can still very much win their group. The only really concern that I had was we did not know yet what would happen in that other match in the
Yeah,
group.
exactly.
So with us not knowing what was going to happen with Saudi Arabia,
Mm,
Uruguay, we didn't
yeah,
know how that would play out. But since they drew that, I didn't see the updated odds, but it went from Spain, Argentina in the round of 32, which had gotten up to 37%, which is way too high for my liking. Like Spain, Argentina in the round of 32, as fun of a match as that is, I have that in my
Spain.
final. I don't
Yeah.
want to see that. Don't give me that in the round of 32.
No,
Let's
I
wait on
agree.
that for the bigger stages. But
Yes.
yeah, that percentage then went way back down to like 14 or whatever it was, based on Spain
It
becoming
could
their
happen. Look, I'm not gonna underestimate Saudi Arabia or Uruguay. Saudi Arabia made it very difficult
true.
for Argentina.
They beat them. Yeah,
They beat them. So like it was, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it's okay, we'll get the 3 points next time around. I'm not worried. Clearly De La Fuente is missing what made his team so great in the Euros, and that's the use of wingers and spreading the pitch, spreading the defense, and having Lamine Yamal and Nico on the other side. Lamine Yamal in particular, and I am sure that if and when he comes back, which will probably be against Saudi Arabia come Sunday, that it'll be a completely different Spain, and that
100%. Yeah,
9 out of 10 times we would have won that game against Cabo Verde. So I wasn't as outraged. I was quite frankly more captivated and happy for Vozinha, the goalkeeper from Cabo Verde. I
yeah,
thought his story was amazing. Learning about his LinkedIn, how the federation got in touch with him through LinkedIn. Did you read about that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
It was a
mean
center
all
back.
the.
It was a center back. It was a different player.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. No,
Jesus.
these stories are awesome. Some of these,
That was
like a
amazing,
lot of these World Cup stories, are awesome.
right?
Yeah,
And
it's awesome.
obviously him exploding. He's like on 13 million now followers. So that is also. I hope that he gets a good brand deal and makes the best of this time.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I'm not really worried because I know in any other 9 out of 10 cases we would have won that and put the game to bed, whether it be 1 goal, 2 goal, 3 goals. It just was an off day with an inspired performance that I think that these 5 days, this week will be crucial for how will Luis de la Fuente act in the Spanish camp, the base camp. You're
hmm
coming off of a draw. You're seeing that Uruguay, Saudi Arabia also drew. You gotta have to get the team, rally the troops, get them back on a mission for the next game. Because let's also admit and be self-critical that we looked a shell of ourselves. There was no urgency. There was no intensity. There was the ball that was played without that. It was like a Barca, on an off weekend against an Osasuna or whatever the type game,
yeah,
in Alaves, Oviedo. And but how is this period now back home? Do you have players that are feeling, or Rodri, Pedri, Fabian, players that Pedri aside, but players that you were expecting more from that didn't perform? How are you treating them? Are you making the right changes? Gavi, you're obviously going to take out Gavi because that was a bit of a failed experiment. And how are you able to get back the trust? I guess is what I'm trying to get at, Dan, of the players that you are the man with the vision. You know what you want from your players. And it's kind of like, look, similar to what, and then this is the comparison I made. Del Bosque, how did he handle the 2010 opening, the debut game for his Spain side, where we lost against Switzerland, right? And then
right.
went on to win the whole, that starting off with a loss, or in this case, a very disappointing draw. It's a touchy point in time where, okay, you want it to happen early on in the tournament, but you also want to make sure that you react accordingly and come out in the second game. So this next game on Sunday will be crucial to see how his side will react.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to be reductive here, but
Mm.
everything we speak about the issues with Spain, most of them are rectified by Lamine Yamal starting that
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
and
it's
even
that
at
simple, quite
even
frankly. Exactly.
80%.
Yeah,
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 because again, like that, the midfield of Pedri and Fabian and Rodri is set up for Lamine
hmm
Yamal.
Yeah.
And so if that's not working, then it's not going to happen. Okay. Last three things again, real quick here. Ayoub Boadi, the defensive midfielder from Morocco. I think PSG is just going to come and get him at the end of this World Cup for 75 mil and just continue their war chest, take it from Lille. That's what I'm thinking. That's the player. If I'm saying the guy from the World Cup that I don't want the Real Madrid to splash big money on, it is that guy right there. Like he is 18 years old. He is defensive midfield wise, like the way that he's a metronome for Morocco. What he's been doing for Lille since he was 16. He is everything that Real Madrid wanted Camavinga to be. He is everything that they want. The reason why I was scared about the Camavinga signing when he was 16, coming from Rennes, Buati is all those things. And I know it sounds crazy because I would never say this normally, but PSG, come do your job and make sure you take him away from Real Madrid.
Can we not get this kid?
Barcelona is not with Bernal and Pedri and De Jong.
Yeah,
that's just like it's just Barcelona have too many other holes elsewhere.
But so how does he pair up to say a K Smith? Because Madrid will not go for K Smiths in this case, right? If they get Boadi.
I mean, I think these are different levels here. Like Boadi is an A plus young talent right now. He's a top 5-7 under 21 talent in world football. Okay. And Keith Smith is a top 30, top 40. You know, like you're talking about like listen, like Keith Smith too.
I'm biased here because I'm also Dutch, obviously. But
I have this is me plugging, but he was one of the big names that I covered a few months ago. It's like you know, a really, really top prospect. I think Keith Smith is like an A- prospect, while I think Boadi is an A+ prospect. I think that's the difference here.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, and they also play entirely different positions too. They also play very different positions. Like Keith Smith is much more of an attacking midfielder, of a Firmine type, while not Firmine type necessarily, but you know, a Dani Olmo type. While as Boadi is a metronome, Boadi is awesome. So, but I think in order, I think he's going to PSG, Real Madrid, and Man City. I mean, well, actually, I might even put
because you know the papers are reporting that he's going to Madrid. Like Giroud is saying that he spoke with his camp and he's going to Madrid. It's like
I think PSG, Man City are coming harder for him. I think Man City is looking to replace Rodri with him, and it is the perfect replacement.
I hope you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, again, Man City, do your job for once. Yeah, I don't know. Stop buying other players that could help Barcelona and just buy the player that's going to hurt Real Madrid. I do also wonder if the Bernardo Silva move. I know Bernardo Silva plays farther up the field, but I wonder if Bernardo Silva also kind of being a player that can operate in the middle part of the field to kind of control tempo and pace. I wonder if the Bernardo Silva signing kind of rules out a Boadi because they already know that Man City, PSG, whatever, or make it a bidding war so that Real Madrid.
Juni Calafat is on his heels, man. So I'm happy you brought it up because I wanted to put it forward. But
last two things for you.
Now I'm much more concerned, Dan.
I don't want to concern you, but he's really good. Anyway, last two things for you. How do you feel about the hydration breaks?
Awful. I don't like it.
What? You don't like ads? You don't like the commercialism of football? Come on. Well, you know, somebody said this really well, and I believe I saw like the Men in Blazers podcast. Somebody, I guess, said it. The hydration breaks, what they kind of ruin in international football and in football in general, is that the best things in football seem to happen when players get tired.
Right.
And when you give them these, especially when they're playing in domes here in the U.S., these unnecessary hydration breaks, players are just not getting tired the way it is. So these games are not breaking open the way they would have.
Yeah.
Again, that 5-minute break is really, really helpful for guys. And so players aren't getting tired. And I just thought that was really, really instructive.
That is a good point. That is a very good point. You count on those lapses of concentration, a split second of fatigue, where the other person outruns that's a good point. But I just don't like it because obviously the flow of the game, I mean, everybody's been talking about it. I don't understand the point of it, like you said, in domes where the air conditioning is cranked up to the max, so you need to sit there with a sweater on. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? But it's been an interesting World Cup, man. I will say that, and I don't want to make this long-winded. We've been going on over an hour now, but maybe another time we can, in hindsight, talk about just. I don't want to forget neither what kicked off this World Cup, the sour taste that it left, I think, in many people's mouths, the way the treatment of certain national sides, the whole political side, let's say, and also Gianni, like Trump calls him, Gianni Infantino, the absolute, just the dirty scumbag that he is, and the organization.
Well, I'll say I'll plug it for more political talk. I have, because of a smaller audience, I've been getting much more political on my watch alongs. So, right. Like for those who call or always call for me to be a bit more of myself, that's for the watch alongs. I definitely get more political on there. I've got a lot to say about. Again, I think the World Cup for me, and I've known this a long time. Like, I had a college professor that she covered Chile really well, and we really worked hard. I worked with her on the different dictatorships and governments in South America in like the 70s and 80s, and the way they use football. And this has always been the case. Like, obviously, like Real Madrid and the way that the Spanish dictatorship had used different sporting things, and obviously the Hungarian government and the Russian government, you name it, right? And the U.S., because of the U.S. uses sports to export capitalism, not necessarily to export a regime, if that makes sense. So, like, the United States is very different.
Don't they go hand in hand? Capitalism and regime?
Well, the way that sports watching happens in the U.S. is something that I'm watching international people kind of get used to. It's very much just you're exporting this blanket idea of sports altruism. Right. And like in America, there's like, we have our own, I'd say, very stupid arguments happening in sports about performative things and things that aren't performative. Like, there's the stupid San Francisco Giants. They had a bunch of pitchers that were, and you've seen this in hockey too, that are in opposition to wearing a pride hat. For Pride Month, right? Or having insignias and then having the pushback and da-da-da-da. It's like, in America, these I know this exists in other countries too, but the very dumb, I'm blanking on the statement, culture wars. That's the word I want.
Culture wars, right.
Gotcha. And I would say, from everything I've experienced, is that the culture wars here in the United States and the way that culture wars are used to prop up or to paper over the true issues that is in America, the fact that our richest people own everything and no one else owns anything here in the United States. But when I say sports watching in the US, I that's how I felt about FIFA and America hosting the World Cup for quite some time. It was just like, I knew this was going to be an exporting of, again, capitalism is awesome, everybody. And I think these hydration breaks
for the rich, basically.
Right. And I think these hydration breaks have been really interesting because it's like the one area where it's just like, why does these exist for capitalism? I don't understand. Like, the rest of the world is like not getting it. Like, and for me, it's like, duh, of course. Like, that's,
of course.
Yeah,
you saw it coming from there, like a freight train that was unstoppable. But I didn't want to end it on a political or a sour note. What I wanted to bring up, and actually this is circling back to when we started the podcast, where I said, I don't want to give everything away in the intro or off air, which was Frisbee. And the second thing I wanted to talk about was, how good have the Scots been? Just fans in general. Obviously, the Dutch fans, we've got the van links naar rechts.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
The Scottish have been just amazing. They've really schmoozed Boston and all the Americans.
Oh my God,
it's so good to see.
Fenway, going to Fenway
and stuff,
like
invading. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Literally drinking bars dry. There was no beer in certain areas.
Well, and I think that's the point too. With like, America should be criticized. Like the countries that are that had their visas banned. So like AFCON is just so much less support here than all these other countries. And I'll say it, like the explicit racial bias that exists here from the American government. it is, I think, taking away something from the World Cup because, and I believe John Oliver did this thing years ago on this, and it
Right,
still
I'm
rings
sure
true about the World Cup.
Mm.
The richest among us, and obviously the people that you get to see in the stands, because again, I've also said I had opportunities to go to 3 or 4 different matches here, and I turned it down because the idea of giving FIFA more than $600 out of my pocket,
Yes,
just
you'll be damned
rubs me the
over
wrong
your
way. I'm
dead
not
body.
doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excuse my French, but like, F that. I'm not doing that.
Mm.
But the magic about the World Cup is that it is this thing, like all of these cultures, and it does come from, especially in the U.S., cultural ignorance. Like that is true as well. It's like, of course, people in X number, of in wherever, South Carolina or in St. Louis, of course they're jazzed when this country they've never heard of is invading their town. They're like, this is really fun. Yeah, because we've been telling you that like the rest of the world's also fun. And the bummer is that here in America, we cannot afford to fly across the ocean to enjoy these other countries. So having them come into our backyard is great because, again, as I always kind of say to my family, it's like, you don't have to be afraid of, like, yeah, there are scary people in every country, but like, you don't have to be afraid of different cultures and different foods. And like, it's actually pretty cool to enjoy. It's part of the human experience to enjoy new things and new cultures. And I think, again, that's the great thing about the World Cup, that despite the rich people owning everything and kind of puppeteering all of this nonsense and whatever, and capitalism to its extreme, whatever, the people, like literally just a person meeting a person, is still at a culture meeting up into another culture. That is what makes the World Cup special. It continues to make the World Cup special. And as much as FIFA and, again, the US and Mexico and Canada are trying to say, yeah, we're on board with this, you know what I mean? Like, let them put their thumbs up, whatever. There's my rant, Diego. It came late enough that the people on my show, and hopefully the people on your show, already know what I'm about. So there you go.
You're a rant man, Dan, the rant man.
I mean, listen, dude. I only get to do this every 30 years. Like America only hosts the World Cup every few years. So I mean, every 30 years. So for me to not 30. Go, I just had to say my piece on your show. There you go.
No, dude, I love it. And I could continue to talk about this, but we'll save it for another time, my man.
I agree.
And
capitalism and fascism and socialism and the isms are not going anywhere. We'll have time.
That's a constant in life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something that we can debate for the ages. Yeah, man. Well, listen, Dan, it's been great talking to you again. Great catching up. And of course, you say your piece for your people, for all of the good folks here from D-Spot. Stick around for the next stream or upload. That's why I please ask you to hit the bell notification. I know that I have been notified, sorry for the redundancy, by some of you, that they mysteriously get deactivated. So make sure that your bell is notified, that you have the bell notification activated, because I might go live, I might put an upload, I might have another collaboration, another interview. I just had Graham Hunter call me back, so expect him on the show soon. We'll catch you in the next one. Dan, over to you, my friend.
I can't name drop like you can, so just come on with the Watchalongs, and it'd be a cool surprise if people bumped it. So there you go. Just the Watchalongs.
Go to the Big Up, yes, for sure. I want to try to join you there as well. In fact, I want to see if what the vibe is like.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, and you could also at the same time have it on your YouTube stream. So yeah, there's just so many capabilities, and we'll talk about that off camera and off mic. So for now, everybody, we'll say Forza Barca and continue to enjoy the World Cup. And if you've been under a rock for the last hour plus, watch Messi. It's always recommended. So, all right, Messi, and we're out.
Pretty good.